Hello and welcome to another Supernatural Live with myself, David Saville, and Richie Watson.
Hola.
Welcome. So this is another one where I am super excited, actually. I've got so much to say about this. It's insane. It's been coming up a lot from my clients, both those who are coaches and those who run other service businesses. It's like social media. You know, there's so much confusion about how to use it and how to use it well. When you're starting out, people often sold a lot of misunderstandings and a lot of taking ideas from certain ways businesses work and trying to apply them to serve these kinds of service businesses in a way that just doesn't function. So it's a lot of it's misguided. Some of it is just because people, you know, it's how they make money, right? So it makes sense to tell you you're doing something badly or you don't know how to do something, or to complicate it so that you have to then do their courses and all this kind of stuff. So with all this in mind, you know, and for myself, I have done this so badly in so many ways over years. You've witnessed it, right?
Yeah, I saw it happen.
You've seen the chaos of my experimentation, my misguided adventures into learning different things.
It was very troublesome.
Yeah, because Rich actually had a more natural way of doing things anyway. So he would always you always had great instincts of what needs to be done. And, you know, amazing success, of course, you've had personally in social media, you know, not by trying, just by accident, which I know you'll share some about. Shortly, right?
Okay. I didn't think of that, but
yeah, I mean, like immense success, which is like, you know, so that would be worth mentioning here to how that happened.
I accidentally got a contract with Naked Whole Foods because of my accidental success.
Yeah.
My first business that I accidentally created.
Yeah. Accidentally, but because of what we'll be sharing here, actually.
Accidentally, but through intention.
Exactly. And so we're going to be sharing that. It's like how to bring a different kind of attention to the way you use social media to create success in your business and just to live a more meaningful life. So it's not something you're doing. Like one of the lies is, it's very common in coaching. You have to be marketing 80% of the time or 90% of the time. You should be only coaching a small amount. And that's just incorrect.
Really?
Wrong.
Really?
Yeah, yes, that's very, very normal. Yeah, it's very, very normal. So friends of mine, man, who have been doing this for years, that's how they work. And it's worked for them. So they think that's how it should be done, of course. You know, it's worked in the way, when I say it's worked for them in the way they think it is possible to work. But they don't understand, of course, what's possible when you do it a different way completely, which is what we're going to be sharing here. This is like, forget everything you've been told. Forget algorithms. Forget the way it's supposed to work. We're going to be sharing with you like a meaningful, natural way of using it, which will actually create success for you and be part of and can help be part of your life in a meaningful way. So I almost can't keep up with my brain can't keep up with my mouth. My brain's moving way too fast for my mouth. So I'm going to slow down. I'm going to hand it over to Rich for a moment so I can breathe and Rich can join in the conversation.
Good. Okay, this is going to be fun, but it's going to take us a while to unpack all the things we need to talk about.
Damn right. Yeah.
You know, and create the nucleus of this, I think, actually through that. Because I think more than any other live we've done, this is fresh and emergent. David and I haven't spoken about this, and we haven't even spoken in preparation really for this. We've kind of just taken our own notes, and we're coming along, and we're gonna figure this out.
Yeah.
Noel likes your haircut, David.
Thank you very much. This was fresh off the press yesterday.
Yeah, you look like a Peaky Blinder.
I have not seen the show.
Have you not seen the show?
No.
You got to watch the show. When they take their hats off, they look a bit like you.
Lucky them.
Yeah. No, I was going to say because I haven't had a haircut for over 2 months or whatever it is, and it was only when I was doing my hair and coming along for this that I realised there was a bit here that was just out here. I was like, oh man! So I gave it the whole spit and press, and I think that probably hold up for a live.
That was my what I used to do at school, and it never used to work. Like one bit would stick up. Like,
yeah. I was like, right, it's happening, and then I get in, and you come on, and you've got look at your shiny new haircut.
Oh yeah.
I feel quite inadequate. Fortunately, the stuff I'm saying is going to be fucking brilliant.
That is very fortunate.
Yep, that is fortunate. Also, because I'm not well and poorly today, David.
I know, man. Yeah. I was just going to say, I hope you're not drinking coffee there.
It's not coffee, dude. It's not coffee. It's tea. I can't go coffee. So I've gone tea. I think tea's soothing because I've got bad belly, everybody. Got bad belly, everybody. It's okay. You don't
Everyone needs to know that.
you don't have to send hearts or anything. That's all right. Right. I don't need that kind
He
of
doesn't need
validation.
sympathy and care.
Don't need it. But if you do it, you know, I won't not like it. I'll thank you. It'll be a reciprocal thing.
Because you won't be getting it from me, so it can only come from you.
No. David enjoys my pain. You know, David thrives on it. David learns from it and creates
Damn right.
whole schools and philosophies based upon it. So,
Well, Rich is a master of like transcending all kinds of pain and illness and all kinds of like amazing stuff. So, you know, when he talks
master of suffering.
a master of transcendent suffering.
Yeah, we'll go with that one. Yeah.
And so because of that, of course, I want to be able to handle the edges of what I'm capable of. I pay attention when Rich is talking about what he's doing.
Man. Right on. I mean, what you've done with it as well has been just something else.
So this is a tiny little it's definitely a tangent, but at the moment I've had a bit of a knee injury, man, from inactivity. Actually, I was so immersed in work last week, did not barely anything. So a lot of poor positions. This week, my knee's been tweaking quite severely. So I've been bringing your stronger thing to myself as I've been walking and all this kind of stuff. And, you know, within a day, really, it's something that it was an injury. The pain has not been as bad as it's been for years, like years ago. I've not had it since then. And within a day, it's gone, and is mostly like the tweaking's even eased too, man. So, yeah, we should do that live as well at some point soon.
Yeah, okay, we'll do that.
We dig into that,
like in the alchemy.
Yeah.
Of suffering. We could do physical and emotional.
Yeah, let's do that.
Tie them together.
Yeah, I think it's needed.
Thing is, the physical thing, as you know, like even though there's a treasure trove for me to share relating to that, I'm not at all interested in it.
I know.
So like we'll have to bring in the other
others.
Yeah. But that stronger one, you know, to what David's talking about is there's a lot of stuff built underneath it. But it was coming to the point of just commanding your body to heal, commanding it to be stronger. You know, emphatically commanding it and like embodying that sense as you do. It's a mind body connection hack. You know, I'm pretty sure everybody knows the placebo is a real thing by now. That was a massive surprise to me, by the way. You know, 12 years ago, because I thought the placebo was people weren't really sick. But they took this thing and it revealed they weren't really sick. What I didn't realize is it was actual real physical healing taking place because of a belief, which is an extraordinary thing that we're becoming more and more aware of now. And, you know, hopefully, actually, I'll be running a live with Dr. David Hamilton exploring some of that in the coming weeks.
Very cool.
Yeah. So, yeah, anyway, tangent enough, right?
We have.
We'll come online. So,
So actually, what would probably be quite useful, why don't you explain a little bit about your experience with social media, your accidental, incredible success?
Okay. So, so I was coming out of my illness, my physical illness, and I had come to a point of I'd been messing around being of service to people for many years because of the things I discovered through overcoming chronic anxiety, PTSD, suicidal depression. You know, I went to hell and below with it all. Massive physical challenges my health, massive experiential challenges with things that turned up and challenged me in life. But big problems with my mental health and my emotional health. And when I discovered the things, and I say this when I discovered things incrementally, you know, massive things over the course of my entire lifetime. But when I pieced these discoveries together in such a way, there was deep clarity, and I could now really exist with a rare amount of freedom. I was playfully being of service to others around me too, and I loved it. Then the physical challenges were ongoing, and as I overcome those, and I was getting into this real nice flow now of, wow, you know, everything's coming together. I've gone through all the hells and I'm just fine. You know what? I could go through them again. In fact, I'm kind of curious about what comes next. Careful what you wish for. And so I just started to be of service, and social media happened, like Facebook happened. So we're now like from 2007 onwards. I just, instead of what I would do socially with my friends, which is mainly shooting the shit, I saw this as a wonderful way to connect and share and be of service. So I did that, and I created some groups. And honestly, at that time, nobody knew that social networks, which is what they were called then, of course, no one referred to it as social media then. Nobody knew social networks were going to be leveraged. Well, people probably a lot more business focused than I was. We're going to be, certainly no one could anticipate how they were going to become the social media presence and basically the nucleus of marketing, advertising, businesses, you know, for the coming decades. But so we were just sharing, right? People were sharing and I was sharing and people turned up and I was able to be of service. It was so beautiful, David. I loved it. It was so cool. You know, I'd create my groups, I'd write some stuff. People would message me. Sometimes it would be on the group. Sometimes, more often actually, it would be in the inbox. You know, people would do it privately. And I was just sharing and it was beautiful and I loved it. And I genuinely wanted to do things this way. I wanted to work during the day, and at night I wanted to put my service cape on and be a service superhero. You know, I genuinely wanted to do that way. And that felt really good to me. So I had no intention to create anything business-wise. And what happened was this organic growth. Suddenly thousands upon thousands of people turned up until I had tens of thousands of people on these groups. And I would get hundreds of messages through the course of a week. You know, I remember the first time I went away for a weekend, like 2-3 days, and I came back to like 300 messages. It was something else. It really was. And Facebook hadn't become monetized at that point as well. So it was all organic connection. And it was open doors. You know, if you had something of value, it really reached people. And it was beautiful. And it honed my skills that I would then use as a professional, because I was engaged with so many people with so many different challenges. And through that as well, and this was all anchored really in service and integrity, everything we've been talking about in the videos previously. Because of that, it worked all on its own. Because of that, and it was real. It just went. And the opportunities that came my way was extraordinary. So many. I was having consultations with people around the world, different organizations, businesses, festivals. It just was kind of never ending. And then people were coming along to me and going, "How have you done this?" And I had to think. I'm like, "I don't know. How have I done this?" So because what I thought they're coming along and asking me. And I thought, well, I'm not the guy to ask, because like there's no secret to this. It just happened. You know, it's only when I looked at it and go, "Oh, okay, this has happened this way because of this," and how beautiful is that? And I remember writing something based on I remember writing a status based on that question that someone asked me, and I wrote, "If you want to be successful, make it your intention to be of service." You know, so that was way back then, before I was a professional, anything really, and I was just doing it.
So from doing that, actually, so you were getting all these messages, you were having lots of interaction, you hadn't really any idea of what you were going to do with that. So what were you learning through those interactions?
Well, I was learning to really become aware of my own assumptions when it come to other people, because I was getting invited into so many different worlds that were surprising to me. I certainly learnt not to waste any of my energy taking things personally in a destructive manner. And what I mean by that is this. So I'm serving people. I'm not getting paid for this, but I'm serving people, and I'm committed to it. And one day I get a message in my inbox just swearing at me. You know, "You're so full of this. You know, there's people suffering all around." You know, because there was a lot of compassion-oriented guidance. There was a lot of like loving kindness. You know, that was the vibe of my groups. So I got this guy who's clearly suffering. Actually, no, it was a woman. First one I got, and I made a mistake. What I did is I removed her from the group and then sent a message and said, you know, because like you're on the group, right? It's like, this is what the group is about. This is what's happening. So I messaged back and I said, you know, I've taken you out of the group, so you don't have to be upset by this anymore, because it clearly feels like this isn't a good fit for you, kind of thing. And they got loads of more hatred back. "Oh, Mr. Love and Kindness, you know, gets one message and throws me off his group," and this kind of stuff. I'm like, "You crazy lady. You clearly don't like the group." Right? But this was a big lesson, because I didn't serve her. I didn't serve her, and I'm stepping up to be of service. But that ceased at this point. You know, that ceased, and suddenly I'm doing what was right for me, which is get this nasty lady off my group. But then placate that with this doesn't seem like the right fit for you. You know, taking out the group, you won't get any more updates that are upsetting you. Okay. So, and because I went away haunted by the uncomfortableness and the truth. I was haunted by the truth for me, which was within the emotion and within my relationship to what happened. And then what I did is I understood that what I needed to do is to try and help that person who was in pain. And as cliched as it sounds, we're reaching out in some form. The next time it happened, I was able to do that, and it was beautiful. And every single time thereafter has been something wonderful based on that. So the big lesson in that is the service, is the just always serve. Why am I here? To serve, then serve. Okay, it's like, oh God, this is uncomfortable and I'm getting this. Okay, we'll serve. It's like, the funny thing, David, is when I was running a leisure facility with, you know, a lot of staff, and it was busy, restaurants, show bars, and there was like 30 staff I think I had all together. The thing I would say to people, if sometimes we got overwhelmed, which happens in a bar or a restaurant, and then, you know, so got a member of staff coming to go, Richie, there's just too many, so many people, and we can't get on top of it. And the only thing to do, David, right, was this: serve your way out. Okay, that was the only thing to do, right? It's like, and I just look them in the eyes, and they go, okay, serve your way out of it. And it's wonderful, powerful thing I got to give them, and they just went, oh, okay, yeah, of course. So it's the same thing, right? It's like just, and maybe I'd prefer to say serve your way in, you know, because what it is you want connection to serve your way into that.
Yeah, that's quite beautiful, actually.
Yeah,
just
at a bar, serve your way out. If you're a coach, serve your way in.
Yeah, actually, because it's one of the things I didn't write, actually, for things to explore was when you do get those bad reactions, when you get people like attacking you. So let's linger on that a little bit, actually. So with regards to that, so let's get clear on that. So, you know, someone's done the post. It's maybe taken a lot of courage for them, actually, to share this thing that they've shared. And then they do get someone saying, you're full of shit, you know, how dare you do that, right? You could think, there's no reason for me to connect with this person, right? Clearly, this person's not even read my post or is not willing to have a conversation with me. What was wrong with just cutting that out? You know, it's like, how would you serve your way in a way that serves you and serves anyone else actually who might also be reading?
Yeah, that's massive. So you asking me?
Yeah.
Okay. So a few weeks ago, I got something similar. I was actually serving someone covertly. I wasn't being Richie mentor coach. I was just being someone on a thread. And this woman had left something. I made a comment first, and she commented upon that. And it was depression. You know, her comment was just embodied depression expressed through words. It really was. So what I decided to do in that, and this is I think this is helpful as well, is that I'm not going to jump in with my massive coaching boots and decide I'm the person, because she hasn't asked me for coaching or service. She hasn't asked for that. She's not approaching me in any way. Okay, so there's no relationship there. So I'm not gonna do things in that way. I don't think that's appropriate. And we can be, even though we can get over enthusiastic, I think, especially in the developmental period, where it's like we're just going to help everyone. It's like, hey, no, who's asking for your help? Slow down, man. You don't want to be the new vegan that's trying to get everyone to go vegan, right? You don't want to be that. Nobody likes the new vegan. Okay, there's plenty of vegans I like, by the way. Don't hate on me. You know, I was vegan. Oh no, that's made it worse. But it's so if I'm really going to be of service, there's no reason for me to announce myself as anybody, to qualify myself as anything, or to do any of that stuff. It's just connecting with that person and saying some things that aren't too preachy, you know, that are, if I can just provide an idea with compassion, you know, and I understand, and that I get it, and this, and I just made sure I imparted the truth, which was the truth of the prickly path, you know, which is the way out is through, you know. And I was speaking, but from a place of I'm a friend here, not anything else, because that's all I wanted. I wasn't, let me be very clear, I was not trying to generate a lead or a prospect. Absolutely clear, just isn't in my soul to do that. And if it was, if it if that so emerged, I would disconnect. I wouldn't have any contact. You know, if the idea of this come and polluted what I was doing, I simply wouldn't do it. And I think that's the correct course. But we were having this exchange, and she was moving. It was beautiful. You know, because I had a little look at her Facebook profile too, and what's going on here. And you know, this person, whatever they're going through it. And there was movement, and there was connection, and there was acknowledgement. It was really something. Anyway, someone come along and just put the "you're full of shit," you know, because of whatever happened for them, they couldn't see what was happening here, that this was of service to this person. You know, their pain just opened up and you know, projected all over the comment thread. So at this stage, of course, it's no fun being projected at. It's no fun being, you know, publicly as well, where people can see you're quite vulnerable. You know, you're full of shit, this. So that's no fun. But the important thing to do is to not react and not respond quickly. You know, it's really important. And not, you know, get really familiar with the fact that almost all of the things you do in reaction to something that's challenging is wrong and is in some way making it worse. So to be able to hold space for a significant length of time, you know, for me at this stage of the game, it isn't significant anymore, but in the early stages, significant. Come back the next day if need be, you know, just hold it and be with it. So you can get up to a place of where you're not just operating from the place that's the emotional charge of this thing that's happening, because it will govern your thinking. You're thinking in a form of self-justification, like of why, and it will seem completely fine. You're feeling this way, you're thinking this, and I am being of service to call this guy an asshole, you know, or maybe passively aggressively point out that what's happening for this woman, you know, why have you come along and said this in this way? You can look at what's happening here and like try and guilt the guy. None of that. Service, right? I'm being of service to one, so I'm going to be of service to this guy. Maybe I can say something right now because I'm safe. He's this anonymous person that's however many hundreds of miles away, maybe thousands. I'm safe. So I can take the time to decide what it is I can do that might be of service. And it's this. It's being gentle and coming to a place of, you know, things like, I can't remember exactly what I said to this guy, but it's things like, it wouldn't be my intention to upset you in this way. You know, what is it exactly that I've said that has? I appreciate your perspective. You know, I value your perspective. You know, what is it exactly you disagree with? I think it was something like that I said. And that's the way. And David, you know, almost all of the time, it's immediately met with deep connection. Immediately, like the next message is one of suddenly there's this human being there who's being kind and warm and apologetic, and you know, and confessing about all the things they're going through. It's amazing. It's like one comment, you know, one reply can do that, or it can you can go in the opposite trajectory. But then, like, whatever you do with that emotional signature, however you manage it, and your message comes across with some form of passive hostility that then is still responded to, like with that message I talked about earlier, which is I've removed you from the group. It doesn't seem like the right fit for you, and I got more, you know, it's vitriolic what I got back because it was some form of passive aggression, because I was basically herding the emotion around and managing it, but cleaning it up properly, which is the courage to properly hold, you know, really have the courage to hold it. And it does take courage. It takes will and courage to stop and hold, because there's an urgency in these emotional triggers because they come from survival mechanisms. So it's really courageous to stop and hold. Then some clarity. And to be clear, we're not waiting for the emotions to disappear. What we want is a freedom within them. We want a clarity within them, a strength within them. So now my thinking isn't polluted and being governed by and driven by it. I'm now able to be informed by whatever it is I'm feeling and my wisdom, and write something I'm going to be happy with now talking about it.
Yeah.
Right. And that's what I've done time and time again. You know, there are several people connected on my Facebook page, I think, still that have connected with me after those interactions from those early days. And yeah, it's beautiful.
Yeah, wonderful. So fear, actually, that's guiding most decisions about how to use social media,
Yeah,
right? It's like coaches starting out is very common with. It's like, I don't know how to sell, I don't know how to make money from business. So what I'm going to do is so rather than just try and see first, I'm actually just I've got to go on a course. I've got to learn this thing. I've got to, which makes sense. I've done that myself. It makes sense, right? But what I found really useful, a way of understanding this better, is stop thinking of like social media as something as different to being in person. So treat it as if you're in a room together.
that's really good. That's really good.
It's because then when you do that, of course, and people are here and you can see their faces, you can look them in the eye. And what do you do when you're in a giant room? You move from person to person. You're talking, you're connecting. Some people you connect well with, some people you don't. Some people agree, some people don't. So you have great debates and all this kind of stuff, right? But it's just imagine that you're there and it's real. It can really help you when it comes to this thing. So if you're in a room with someone and you've just started out as a coach, you don't know what the hell you're doing. What could you do? You go and you just. So this is the equivalent of like, I'm going to go stand in a corner. I'm going to start speaking about something. That's what I'm going to do, because there are people around who may hear me. Now, I don't know if they're going to care about what I'm going to say, but I'm going to start speaking anyway. And so you just start speaking and you start saying something about something important, talk about something that you know. And through the speaking of it, you will see some people start to get their attention, and some people will come over. Some people will come over, they'll listen and they'll go away. You're like, okay, what I'm saying isn't really good enough. So what could I do better? And then the beautiful thing is, if someone comes in and they interact, you can in any way, you can ask them, right? If they like it, because this is the thing, right? Social media is about likes, loves, and that kind of stuff. Find out, why do they like it? What was it they liked about that, right? So from a single post, you get a few likes, not many. You maybe get a comment. From that, you've got human beings who interacted, who showed some kind of interest in that. You get to find out why. And that's a really beautiful thing. You don't get to find out so much when people just ignore it, of course. That's not quite, you don't get quite as much information there. There's so many reasons why they may not see it. It may be nothing to do with the quality. But from any interaction, you get to develop your ability to understand and to find out how to be of deeper service, right? Because they might share what they liked about it, but is it doing anything for them? Is it actually changing anything? Did that make a difference in their lives, or did it just make them feel good in the moment? You need to understand these things. So just from just beginning, when you've got no big network and you've never done this before, you just talk to people and you share things, and through that interaction you find out if it has value. And through that, you begin to start to create value and get better at what you're communicating, to understand what you know inside as well. This is another very important part. You may have had massive changes in your life, right? A lot of coaches, the reason why they're in coaching often is because they've had such great things happen to them. They'd love to be able to do that for others, right? It's quite a normal driving force for many coaches. But you're unlikely to know why things worked for you, or what it was, or why did affirmation work for you when it doesn't work for so many people? What were you doing when you were doing it? It's unlikely you understand that. So what you'll probably start doing is start sharing the thing that you did, but in the way that it was told to you. So essentially, you'll sound like that person, whoever it was that you were listening to, right? So essentially, it'll be their words coming through your mouth when you first start, which is very normal. So you're doing that, but then it's not working for people. Nothing's happening, and then you're like, well, why isn't it working for you? Tell me, how are you doing them? And they get to tell you how they're doing it, and you get to go, oh no, when I did it this way. And there'll be a nuance, there'll be something different. And then you get to share that with someone. You get to share it maybe with many people. And through that process, you extract out something different, something within yourself that was of service to you, that is now beginning to be of service to others. So through that, social media becomes this way of getting better at your service, getting better at being able to clearly to give to someone else something that was of service to you. Obviously, there's loads more I could say, but I know I can see you nodding and stuff to say there, Rich.
Yeah, man. God, this is going to be an epic. I just know it. I can feel it in my bone. Okay, so if you see social media, as David is saying, as your training ground, this is for you to develop. That development is your marketing. Okay, so don't don't see social media as a marketing tool or platform. See it as a developmental platform for you.
Yeah.
And the process of that development, as people see it, will announce you to the world, and it will announce you to all of the right people. Okay? That simple. That simple. Let's put a real underline over that. And hopefully that's for people watching that aren't, there's going to be deep, we can always go deeper with this, but it's a revelation, really. It's like, oh, this is my training ground. What an amazing free resource for you to have a training ground,
Right.
where you get to playfully, experimentally develop yourself, get stronger, get clearer, challenge yourself, understand others, understand yourself. As David says, you start sharing something, but people start asking questions about it. And if you haven't dissected that, analyzed that yet, you haven't got the answers. So you need to do that. The big mistake a lot of people make is that they try and give answers that they don't have yet. And it's like, and then it all gets kind of clumsy. So you've got to go deeper for yourself. It's like, okay, do I understand that? Do I know this? Well, you know what? I don't. So I've got to take a really good look at that. Something David is extraordinary at is to get into those nuts and bolts with people. That's one of the things he does with the people he trains. It's like, you know, some people they've embodied something but don't necessarily understand the mechanics of it to be able to then share it. And then so they're sharing the surface level of it, which can be used and misused to varying degrees by everybody. And, you know, may even be interpreted as the opposite of what happens, right? It's like I had a student who was convinced that they had this wonderful transformational experience through letting go. And so when we get close, so just to take you guys through the process here, it's okay, well, describe to me exactly what was happening during this letting go. And as we got closer and closer to the letting go, which was stumbly because they had the language, which was other people's. Literally someone she had a massage with, like that day, said, oh, it sounds like you really let go, right? So she just took down, right? That's what it was. So we got closer to this experience of transformation that she had, which she was calling letting go, and would have spent the rest of her life telling everyone, you know, we need to let go. It's letting go. Oh, I let go. And the closer we got, we found out that what she really did is she held it. she didn't let go of it at all. She held it until she was strong enough to connected to the strength to hold it, and that was transformational. She literally turned into it, faced it, and held it.
Yeah.
Right? But she didn't know that because she hadn't been asked the right question to reflect upon it in that way.
Yeah.
So it's so crucial. It's really, really crucial.
Yeah. I mean, because obviously I hadn't been using social media much, right? Just for my work.
I'm not sure if we're really the people to be doing this. Right?
We're absolutely the people to be doing
it's
this.
kind of our point, right? Because the lack of need to do it is kind of is a big part of this.
Yes. And so because I've been off it for a while, right? Because I've been focusing on, you know, just my business has been growing in different ways. I've been focused on my life in other ways. And then the reason why I was coming back was like, you were like, look, there's some things that need to be shared. And it was because of what happened with the coronavirus and the misguided advice about fear and people taking advantage of people and all that kind of stuff, right? Yeah. So Rich was like, let's get, you know, let's come back and let's do something. That's how these started. These public service broadcasts is how they began. And then I started to bring my attention more to, you know, noticing what other coaches are doing, of course, because that's my main focus. And, you know, essentially, if you were to get 1,000 coaches and you were to get their posts for a week and line them up, it would be very difficult to see much difference. Yeah. The language, the catchphrases they're using, the types of things they're talking about, the quotes they're sharing. It's like, I can't see you in there, really. And the ones you can see in there, they tend to be sharing from a place of vanity. Look at me. Here's a picture of me doing this thing that's amazing. Look at me on this beach. You know, look how cool I am. Look how my lifestyle is, you know. So you've got the vanity posts. And then you've got the people trying to share something meaningful, but they don't understand it. They haven't connected deeply enough, and they haven't learned how to take it in and then translate it out of themselves. Because there's a whole process, you know. There's different layers of understanding. You know, there is the embodiment, right, where you can do stuff. You know, your life is different. It's amazing, and you know you've changed so radically. You just want everyone to be able to have the experience of life that you've had. Yeah. But you cannot yet. It's different to being able to understand it in a way that means that when you say it out loud, that that when you say it, you get what you're saying, for a start, by the way. If you listen back some of your videos or written posts, you may not understand what you've said at all, right?
Because you might be using the language that you've accumulated.
Exactly. Yeah. Yes, which is likely. And then through that process of articulation, and then people receiving it and asking questions and challenging and all this kind of stuff, you questioning it, of course, and going deeper, because you have to then return inside. You keep having to return deeper into yourself to be able to extract something more, and then keep articulating it, and then finding out where it's failing and where the gaps are. So that's a whole deep process that can only really happen through the engagement with another human. Yes. And you don't have to do it on social media, of course. You can do this privately with your clients. It's you can do it there too, and I'll recommend you do. But it's like an amplified, faster way to do it on social media, because of course it has, with multiple reasons really. It has the extra layer of terror that comes from the potential of being in front of many people at once, even though most of the time it isn't that many, right? But it can feel like it. Then, of course, there's the number of human beings who can interact with something you're sharing, which means you get to have them running experiments for you, essentially, right? Yeah. Right? Global experiments for the stuff that you think and through that whole process, you eventually, if you keep going deeper and deeper and deeper, you are able to wherever you are. You could be at a bus stop, you could be typing a comment somewhere, like Rich did. You are able to communicate very, very clearly in a way that is of deep service, which means which is like marketing is just a natural thing that happens from this process, right? You don't need to ever focus on it as being a thing, because it's an automatic reaction, an automatic byproduct of doing this work.
Yeah, exactly. So just dust it the hell away. You don't and focus on this, because this is about becoming really fucking good.
Yes.
Becoming extraordinarily good. And because coaching work, anything like coaching work, when you're helping others in their development and their transformation, that should be hand in hand with your own transformation and development. That's how it works. And if you're not doing that, you're not only underserving yourself, you're underserving them. Okay, because it has to be emergent in that way. And it's like, this is what I'm doing. The best coaches are committed to their own development. You see it, constant challenging, constant expansion, constant experimentation. And through that, and that's, this idea that it's this idea of getting things like the branding, marketing, the social media age of making everything look so good, is that it's the idea you've got to get all this stuff perfect. It's like, that's not what attracts people. It's that emergent quality. Development. If someone watches you go from here to here, they want to get on board with you, okay, because that's what they want for themselves. So you're literally an ambassador, an ambassador for what it is people want. Okay, so it's like this, the perfectionism, the making everything, not owning and acknowledging where it is we're getting things wrong. I have got things wrong. That's getting in the way. Dave and I were talking about this earlier, actually. David's such a great example for this, because, when David really stepped into, right, I'm going to be professional coach now, it was like the shortest period of time had passed before I encountered people, aspiring coaches, who asked me about him. Who said, how did David get that? Literally the question I got after 6 months of you, doing your first talk, or, whatever it was. It was within the 6 month range. He said, how did David Zabel get so good? And this was it. What David did is he committed to this journey in this way. It's like, here's where I am. Here's what I'm engaging with right now, what I'm working on. And I want to work with people that want to come on that journey too. And from that, in a very quick space of time, suddenly David's got an awful lot of clients coming in, and he's a world-class coach. And he's at this point now where David is training other great coaches. This is deep training. This isn't your average vanilla life coaching like David was talking about. You put all the things they're saying together, it's like there's no distinction. And because of that, there's not very little service, because it's like, if what you're sharing isn't personal for you, it's not personal for anybody. That's why all these saccharine platitudes in the self-help world are actually, I find, inappropriate. It's like, oh, you're always doing your best, you're enough, and all that kind of stuff. It's like, well, who is it you're speaking to? If you're speaking to everyone, you're speaking to nobody. That's no service for anybody.
Yeah.
I want to really connect. You know, there's so much of this jumping in and telling people how they should feel, and packaging it as coaching and compassionate coaching. But you need to find out. You need to discover it. It has to be the place you're embodying has to be explorative. It has to be curious. You know, like I said when I gave the example of communicating with this guy who was giving me aggression. I come into service. Well, what shape did that take? Okay, let me ask this guy and understand where he's coming from.
Mm.
You know, let me, like, the assumption consciousness just has to retire.
Yeah.
And you have to come from a place of exploration and curiosity. It's so potent, so powerful.
Mm.
And you're probably going to be the only person that does that in that year for that person, and maybe their life. But certainly you're going to be the absolute rarity of someone stepping forward and wanting to actually take the time to understand them. Wanting, seeking, and taking time to understand another human being is one of the deepest expressions of love there is. That's real love, wanting to understand someone. Man, you know, I'm going to prioritize your world over mine for now. You know? I'm not going to tell you what I think, and I'm not going to project this upon you. I want you to tell me what's going on. And that means I become this receiver of you rather than this projector of me.
Yeah.
It's so beautiful, it's so loving, and it's so powerful.
Yeah, well, that's actually just with regards to receiver. That's essentially what we're doing, right? When we're like pure coaching, right? So I was just sharing this the other day in a training. It's like you're activating your being, so you are a receiver. You're not transmitting at all. I use that phrase, funnily enough.
Nice.
Yeah, because
I love it when we finish each other's coaches.
Yes.
Together.
Yeah, because if you're thinking about what to say, or you're thinking about what whatever you're going to offer, or you're thinking about your own life, you're not able to receive that individual in that way. And whereas some coaches might be able to do this when they're one-on-one with a client, we're talking about bringing this to social media. You know, when somebody has shared a comment, because this is something I've been with my clients quite strong with, actually. When I look at their posts and I've seen them respond, I can, it's obvious when they've been present and like receiving, and when they've just been responding, because social media says if you do it quickly, then of course more eyes will get on it. So you've got to hang around. What is it Arti said? Because don't be a post and ghost, right? So the rules are you've got to, when you post, you've got to hang around, because as soon as anybody interacts, you need to be on it. You need to be engaged immediately, because that will be the best thing for that post. And maybe it would be for that post, but we're talking about for the individuals that bother and care to share something with you. We're talking about your expertise and your ability to be so damn good that people can tell your service is worth thousands just by reading a single post or a single comment. That's what we're talking about you developing with this. And so with that in mind, when anyone writes a comment, like, don't be busy. Don't rush through that. Receive it deeply. Yes. And respond to that individual. Like, nothing else exists when you're responding. So why don't rush your response? Even if you can't do it for days, it doesn't matter. When you do it, give everything to it. Good example of this working very well was Arti, actually. Now, Arti is one of my clients. She does fearless dating is one of her things, which I'll be honest, I never thought would be something that thrives during this period of time, but it is, right? Like, people want to date now, amazing, or they want to train themselves to be able to date. So when this is open, they can do it really quickly, I guess, and do it really well. Great. So that's going well, right? But so she's been on this journey herself, right, of bringing more presence and more ability and more just aliveness to what she's doing, and obviously more quality. So she got tagged in a post by someone. Now, she went into that post, she read the comment, and she took it in deeply, and she took her time. She wrote quite a long comment back. She felt the urge to go message me, or to take it off of here into something else, right? She did have that urge. But she didn't give in to that urge. Instead of that, she was like, how can I be of service here? And I don't need anything from this person, right? How can I do that? And she did. And she wrote this beautiful thing. From that, she didn't expect anything else from it, by the way. It's of service to that one individual. From that, she's had 3 potential clients come from it, right? And that was not her intention. Her true intention was to be of service here. And it was a single comment. And from that, 3 opportunities to do deep work that could, for someone who may work with her for for a long time to come, has emerged from that, because she got out of her own selfish way and gave selflessly, you know.
Lovely.
But obviously she's gone through the process of being able to articulate that, or that made that possible as well, you know, because she was able to be of service to that individual and to others who are obviously on that thread as well, you know.
So, you know, David and I have done very little social media for the last couple of years, really,
Mm.
you know, in the broad scheme of things.
Yeah.
As soon as I stopped running my big events,
Mm.
I didn't do a great deal of anything that could be considered marketing on social media.
Mm.
Yet the clients don't stop wanting to work with us. And that really is a testament to what we're saying. It's so much better this way. Now, I know of a coach I was training told me of a story when, now this is someone that's really, by all accounts, you know, is a leading coach, you know, is a big name out there. And, you know, I was giving this story about how relatively recently this guy entered into an exchange of inbox messages with this other coach I was training. And it was just so desperate. It was so desperate. And it's like, why is that happening? That's because doing things that way, the marketing first way, rather than service first and solely service, actually, it's really difficult to sustain.
Mm.
And it can easily come tumbling down. Whereas if you've really delivered service, if you've really served people, you've really made an impact, then it's really straightforward, because they keep coming back to go deeper, and they tell everyone, and they announce it to the world through what they embody and the very real life changes that are happening. And people go, wow, this is great. Well, yeah, I've been working with David and Richie, or David and Richie, even better, you know. And then it's very soon, then we get the message, oh, such and such, or can I refer such and such to you? And neither of us were into these desperate, you know, this guy it was so clumsy. So this guy must be really like, Christ, you know, I've got nobody signing up to my stuff right now. Even though you would think he's got the best-selling books, you know, he's very established. You'd think it would be straightforward, but it clearly wasn't. But it's you may see from the outside, oh, this looks like success. It's not. It's a kind of success, but there's a deeper success, which means the success that's being created is being created on the firmest of foundations, and it makes everything so simple, and it makes everything feel so good. You know, and you don't have to chase it, and it eradicates need, which is beautiful. You know, because you don't want to come from a place of need, you want to come from a place of service. You know, no one wants to work with someone that needs this. They want us, you know, they want to work with someone that doesn't need this. You know? And that's beautiful to be able to come from that place. Now, coming from that place before you've created success, that's something worth exploring.
Yeah,
that's real. That's real. So explore coming from that place. Now, how do we come from that place? Well, you get real about what it is you're doing and why you're doing it. And you commit. If it's service you want to be, then you commit to that in the deepest ways. And that means making the integrity calls, which means you don't get the quick outcomes. Making the integrity calls.
You can get quick outcomes, but you're not focused on quick outcomes.
Yes, it means compromising what is a low integrity or non-integrity quick outcome. And you need to do that. It's the only way to create yourself into that human being. And you are that human being. It's just there's this aspect of you that's been cultivated and is a part of you. And the way you change that is through starving it to death and nourishing the far, far more beautiful, higher aspects of yourself. And believe us, you know, I hope you can get on board with this. I think anybody connecting with us or choosing to connect with us here will get what we're saying and maybe have their own appreciation of it, but we can go so much deeper. We always can. Almost everyone can immediately like deepen this exponentially.
Yeah, I mean, when I share this with coaches, there's like a big relief, you know.
Yeah,
and they know, they get it, you know. Once we lay it out for them, it's like, of course, this is true, you know. It's just because they spend a lot of time looking at others and seeing all these posts come through again and again. People who have been writing for years, and they like, I must do what you're doing now to create success, right? That's what they see.
Yeah.
Not knowing, well, one, is it true success, or is it just superficial success, because it could just be they're really good at social media, right? They're good at getting likes and comments. It doesn't mean that that leads to anything. No idea, right? In fact, I know for a fact there's a load of people, coaches who get hundreds of likes on their posts, no clients, because it's a different thing. Then of course there are those who do get lots of clients, but the way they get them means that they're actually, it's like an office job. In fact, is a way a lot of coaches work. The actual superficial connections, the work is superficial too. Like there's not a lot of depth happening, though they talk as if there are, but it's not. And so they're making a lot of money, but their life is shit. They're stressed out, burned out.
And you're having to keep things going with bullshit as well.
Yeah,
you're having to play the marketing game. It's unfulfilling. It doesn't feel good. The signature of it, even if is going to be there woven within everything you're doing, even your relationship with your family and the other areas of your life. It's there. It doesn't just stay in one place. And you've got to keep going, because that's how this works. And then if it's not working, we've got to do more of it. So you've got to double down on the marketing and the insincerity. But what we're talking is doubling down on service and sincerity.
Yeah.
Doubling down on connection. Doubling down on results.
Yeah.
And you only need to get deep results with one client to give yourself potentially another 3.
Yeah. That's exactly right.
Yeah.
Well, way more than just 3.
I'm being modest, in the short term.
Yeah.
But then, of course, there's the dimension, David, of course, this as well, which is you get to share the results.
Yeah.
You get to, and I do it from this place. I'm like, when I get the message, or I have the session where it's like, holy crap, look at what's happening for this human being now. And they've said this thing. I just want to tell people, right? It's like, this is great. This is so much fun. I love my job. And that's the vibe. And you get to do that when you're actually getting those results.
Yeah. If
you're not getting the results, you don't get to do it. So you have to create, and there are the faux testimonials, and the faux bios, I've referenced in a video before, like coaches that have just started literally have been falling apart weeks before because it's not working, then claiming to have 10 years experience serving people, which is then immoral.
Yeah.
Because you're telling people you can serve them when you haven't created those results. And that's not okay. It's not okay for people to come in and invest in you, claiming you can do one thing while you're actually experimenting with them and trying to develop skills with them. Actually, it's not what you're doing. You're trying to just get money from them.
That's exactly right.
What you should be doing is developing your skills and experience from an honest place. So people know who they're investing in. And then when you get the right person investing in your work, you accomplish things together. That's the thing about it. Otherwise, it's such a stressful, anxiety-ridden place, right? It's like saying you can do one thing and then having to bullshit your way to that thing that you've said you can do. It's horrible. It's a horrible place.
I've been there. Right? I was there. I did that when I had my job, and I've been trying 11 years ago. Right, I was when I started this development work on myself. Right, just to be better for my dad and better for myself actually, and just wanted to create a better life. That's what I wanted. So, but very quickly, within a few months, really, because you had to work with people. So I ended up. I was pretty good at it. I was pretty good at with not good, but good within the context of what I was doing. And so someone else who'd come on one of the courses wanted to work with me privately afterwards. It wasn't called. I didn't call it coaching back then. I didn't call it. I don't know what I was calling it back then. But essentially, I had a guy within 6 months of beginning, maybe 8 months, paying me £300 a month, flying down from Scotland to do some work. Now, luckily, he knew exactly my experience because he'd been part of the course too. So there was no deceit or anything. But what had happened was, very quickly, I was making it was £300 a session, right? He'd come down, we'd do one session, and it'd be like 2 or 3 hours, and then he'd fly back in. So it's really cool, right? That happened. It was like, for me, of course, it's one of those things that just felt natural at the time, right? And then, but of course, I couldn't recreate it. It just happened by accident. I didn't know what I was doing. So that had happened. And then, so after that, I kept wanting it to be recreated, right? So I set up on LinkedIn. I started to put, I've been doing this for however long, and then all this kind of stuff, because I thought that's what I needed to do. Because I came from an NLP background originally, Though I don't use those skills now, although some of the elements I do, but that's more the understanding.
It's the ethos you reject more than anything, right?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I mean, because it's great in teaching me the understanding, really, of like literally like the world isn't what you think it is, and this, how we relate to the world. So there's loads of good stuff I did learn, but I don't use NLP at all.
I was asked the other day, what do you think of NLP? I said it's shit.
Yeah, it's just a lot of it's superficial, right? Of course.
Yeah. It's polluted with a lot of shit.
Yes, yeah, very much so. But one of the things that I was taught was that you've got to have this, like, they need to believe that you can help them. That's one of the things that you need to do. So if you need to lie or manipulate, whatever you need to do to get them to be in that place of belief, that's okay for the greater good. Now,
so then you've got a premise of deceit and disconnection.
Yes.
And then you see that, and like the coach I referred to bullshitted about, this was an NLP guy. He's a master practitioner.
Yeah, I was one of them, man.
Practitioner crying his eyes out in my living room because he didn't have a clue what to do.
Yeah,
couldn't do it, and then he figured it out. Oh, I'm just going to lie about it. Bullshit people, and take fucking forever and years in that hamster wheel, because I've seen what's going on. And if there's any growth or moving forward, I think it's painful. Yeah,
it's always painful, like the facade, right? No one wins when you do that.
No, man. No. Because this comes to this whole thing about not taking on your clients' failures. It's like the unwillingness to take responsibility for that, to connect with that. It's like, well, yeah, I want to get deep in this with them, because if I want to be in it with them. So if they're not getting there, I can find what I can. But then there's this kind of disconnect which comes of and it's kind of like ordinary and early for people to just go, like, the 3 principles are great at this. If they've got this down, because it's also abstract. If the people haven't been served by the work, they haven't heard it yet.
Yeah.
Oh, that's really convenient.
Very clever.
But it's all them. It's like, have you had anyone that's heard it this year? Or has everyone just not heard it, right? It's like
we keep coming back, it will happen.
Keep coming back. Exactly, keep coming back. Yeah. Eventually you'll hear it, and then
So I've done the dark path, the horrible facade path, and it is horrible. Life feels terrible. It's hard to actually work with people because of carrying this imposter syndrome, right? That people talk about. Yeah. Well, that's because I was being an imposter, right? I was claiming things that weren't true and trying to be something I wasn't. And it wasn't until when was it? It was like 2014, really, when I actually decided that was not a goer anymore. I was receiving some good coaching at the time. Our paths had crossed, and it was just, I need to align. And so, to be honest, look, I've got a full-time job and I'm also doing this coaching thing. It's so fucking simple, right? Yeah. As soon as I did that, I did a talk at the BBC, right? It was the very first time I did this in like a group of people, and it just liberated things, and people became clients from that, from the very first time I'd shared openly in front of a group. It doesn't always happen that way, of course. It doesn't need to, but the point is, it's that everything becomes easier from that point, because then you get to build something that's real, like as Rich likes to say, something that's built out of concrete and steel. It's like something that's like a firm, strong foundation. Now, I work with people who are new coaches and also very, very experienced, and they're bringing the level of honesty and the level of expertise that they can bring to social media and their ability to speak. It's all of them can do so much better, and it's a very important thing. It doesn't matter where you are. You're likely holding back. You're likely not able to articulate as clearly and with the expertise that you think you are. There's most likely a hell of a lot deeper that you could go, and social media is an amazing opportunity to do just that.
Yeah, again, come back to this training ground stuff, man. Like, seize that opportunity. It's an amazing opportunity if you're willing to be. How do people develop? How do our clients develop? It's when they come in real, honest, willing to own, and willing to follow through. Okay, so that's what you've got to do. That's what you've got to do as a coach. You've got to be real, honest, be open to the challenge, be open to the feedback, be open to all of it, and interact from a fundamental level of service. And so much on social media can seduce you out of that, you know, and then you get caught in that trap of like marketing first, but it's honestly, it doesn't work out. I mean, when I see the people that are doing the pretend everything's great thing, they're just where they were. Like, it's always the same, like year after year after year, working their day job, pretending they're a coach, you know, all these just branding, marketing, graphics, and it's not working. It never does. It's like, what do you want to build your house out of? Right? What do you want to build your house out of? Because cards is not the material. That's not the material, but that's what the houses are being built out of. And a lot of these courses and these marketing courses are being taught in such a ways to encourage that. And here's something very important, and this really came up with a guy I was training. That so this guy's may have created success, right? Not this guy I'm working with, someone else. They've created the success, and then they start teaching you how to create success. Well, here's the missing ingredient to that. That was them creating the success. So they created it with ways which worked for them. Then they teach it to you, and it doesn't work. Why? Because they made it bespoke for them.
Yeah.
You know, if they're teaching something they've really generated themselves, they created it bespoke to them. It worked for them. And you're wondering why it doesn't work for you, because you have to go through the same process. You can't just take the end result of what they've done and go, right, I'm doing that way. You have to go through the process of making it bespoke for you. And you only do that through experimentation and experience.
Yeah.
Then, of course, what David said earlier, there's the elements of the fact that perhaps they don't understand what really worked. Actually, they don't understand the nuts and bolts, and most don't. So you're trying to apply, but you haven't got the depth. You know, that wonderful quote, coming back to NLP a little, with Milton Erickson reputedly said that they took the shell but left the nut.
Yeah.
Right? And a lot of times the shell is being taught.
Yes.
Because nobody knows what the nut is.
Yeah.
They don't realize there's a nut.
Yeah. I just want to come to a couple of comments, actually, from a couple of my clients, actually. So we've got Noelle. If I get called a goddess or boss for one more coach. Yes.
Man.
Because kissing your ass is the best way for you to become a client, right?
It's horrible. It's horrible. You know, I've just seen someone that, you know, came, you know, done some work with me a long time ago. I didn't, you know, just lost contact with them, and they went on and done some other work with some other people recently. And I just saw the kind of saccharine bullshit they were being fed. They were just having their ego stroked constantly. And I know they've been on a year journey with this person, and you know, you just know it hasn't gone deep enough. It's going to come undone. You know, just this constant like ego stroking, you know, which was a lot of what's going on. You know, we'll come actually after addressing this comment some more. We'll come on to memes and that kind of thing, because it is that. So,
yes, with that, actually, so, you know, so like the boosting up of someone, right? The praising someone, it's, you know, it's encouragement, right? It's useful. Fun enough, with Noelle, when we first connected, and I was like, I want to work with you. You know, one of the things I'm telling her that she's awesome, and explaining how specifically.
Are you describing David, Noelle? Was this
yeah, because
you're attacking him directly.
But when I did it, of course, I'm giving specificity to why. And of what I've seen in her and what she wants to create, because she wants to create something extraordinary in her business. You know, a business of deep integrity that serves everybody, not just the people that are at the top. You know, it's very important. So she runs this company, and it's very important to her that everyone profits. You know, she doesn't want to get more. She doesn't want to profit more than everyone else does within the company, right? It's just a really important thing for her, as well as, you know, many other things that she has, which is of great integrity and an amazing ability to create. So, of course, obviously it's just a couple of things, but there were so many things that she'd shared. So because of course I got to understand her, of course that continues. But then when I get to share something and offer encouragement and tell you why that you're so good, there's depth to it, there's reality to it, and then it's meaningful in that way. It's not just a bunch of like catchphrases or adjectives, right? There's specificity, which is very, very important in there.
Yeah, compassion alone is incomplete. It's about encouragement, and there's more factors than just compassion. There's also courage. There's realness to that. I said this. I didn't say it. Sorry, I thought it after I was with my daughter in the garden, and I ensure that my praise has meaning.
Nice.
And that means that if something isn't praiseworthy, then I don't, and I make it constructive, loving. Like if she draws something and it's a bit shit, what I'll do is I'll hone in on something I like. I want to be encouraging. So there's some compassion side. I really like that, honey. You know what? That's not your best. I think that's nowhere near. That's nowhere near as good as what you've done before. But I like that. The one you did the other day, I really liked. I really like the way you did that. Okay. So then when I praise her, it has meaning, and that is so much bigger and better for her. Yeah. So unearned praise sterilizes accomplishment, and it disrupts the natural cultivation of self-worth. Now, unearned praise is not what we want. We want earned praise.
Yeah.
That means these saccharine platitudes have got to go.
Yeah.
You're probably not good enough. You're probably not doing your best.
Yep.
And we've got some fucking work to do before I'm even getting in the field of saying you did. But when I do, you know it. You don't need me to say it either. Why? Because you've actually experienced it. That's the point. If it was true, you wouldn't need people to say it anyway.
That's right.
When it's true, it's in you. It's deep. When you've accomplished something. Guess what? That's where self-worth comes from. The worth part means it has value. Value means it was earned. The self-belief, the hard way, is to try and cultivate it mythically before you do anything. And when you've accomplished something, it's your feedback. Self-worth is generated. Someone comes along and says, "Oh, you did really good. Thanks for your time, but I don't need it. I don't need it." Encouragement is different, and coaching should be encouragement, and it's bespoke to the individual. So these generalizations they're actually offensively lacking in interest in the individual.
Yeah.
They're not interested in that. There's a little clip video of one of my weekends that's circulating when I addressed the whole "you're good enough" thing. And I just say, was Hitler good enough? It's like there's a misty silence. For some reason, when you mention Hitler in a workshop, people tend to go a bit silent. Are we allowed to talk about Hitler? Where's he going with Hitler? And so you have to really go, come on, was Hitler good enough? Of course he fucking wasn't. So it's meaningless. Someone who isn't good enough could well be reading the memes. And let me tell you how, because memes is a wonderful example of all of this and the expression of this. You don't want a popular meme that goes viral if the message is harmful. And the messages usually are harmful.
Yep.
If even in their incompleteness.
Yeah.
And the reason harmful messages get sent is because when you say something which strokes the ego, which gets people feeling that pleasure about being right or blaming others, ever so insidiously, it gets liked and shared. And so what happens through the course of the evolution of social media has been this. It's been sharing stuff and then marketers assessing what gets liked and shared. And what gets liked or shared isn't necessarily going to be what serves people, isn't going to be necessarily the uncomfortable truth.
It's unlikely to be.
It's unlikely. It's the thing that says you haven't done anything wrong. It's everybody else's fault. And not in those words, of course, but if ever you see things that talk about toxic people, it's laced with that. It's laced with blame centricity. Okay. If ever you see anything which is anything like you're good enough and you're always doing your best, it's laced with self-justification. So check out those things, because anything that's laced with an undercurrent of self-justification or blame, and it's usually one of those two things, is not what we want to be engaging with. It's of no service to anyone. In fact, quite the opposite. Because what happens is, if you're getting the emotional payoff of self-justification and blame here, what happens when you go back into your relationships and they're doing the same thing and expecting you to play the game with them? Well, then suddenly they're the toxic person, and it's not you, right? Because you know you're good enough and you're always doing your best. And the two things don't even fit together half the time when you're seeing this stuff, right? So which is why everyone's so dizzy and confused. But these things get liked and shared, and then the marketer's like, oh, these kind of things get liked and shared. So different variations of these things become the chief content that's shared on social media. And it's a massive disservice to people. You know, a great example is this: everybody's heard "Follow Your Bliss." Everybody's heard that. Everybody's seen the meme that went viral like crazy in the early days of social networks becoming a platform for self-help sharing. Follow your bliss. But who's seen Follow Your Blisters? Same guy said it, and actually the same guy said it in self-correction, because I should have also said this. Who's seen that meme? Follow your blisters? Of course not, right? Nobody like it. I don't want to follow my blisters. This guy says I should follow my bliss. I'm gonna like and share. I'm like and share that. Okay, cool. Do that. But I'll see you in 10 years when you've driven yourself nuts trying to follow your bliss into the life you want to live and creating the person you want to be. Because following your bliss is only part of the story. And a deeply significant part is follow your blisters. The prickly path, which leads to you growing in every way you need to be and become the human being you need to be to create that life you really want.
Yeah, so this is, as well as we were talking earlier about, you know, when you're writing your posts, when you're responding to comments, you know, be a receiver, right? Well, more of the comments, you would be a receiver, right, of what's been shared with you. Same thing when it comes to, if you are on social media and you're looking at other people's posts, don't be scrolling quickly, because you're, you know, that only buys into this stuff that's going to make you give me quick hits of dopamine, right? It feels good, feels good, feels good. We don't want that. What we want is to use it with meaning. And so if you say you read, well, follow your blisters or follow your bliss, really, and just go, okay, follow my bliss. Let's go with that one. Follow my bliss. Okay, what does that mean? Well, that means I do this. But so if I only follow my bliss because these things feel good, what about these things over here that don't feel so good? You know, like me, for instance, you know, I've done like 500 plus like interactive events, right, and coached like over like almost 1,000 individuals, right. Did I, when I started doing this like 6-7 years ago, properly, did I at the beginning did that feel blissful to me? No, it felt like hell. In fact, it felt like the excruciating agony of fear is what it felt like to me. So if I'd have gone follow my bliss back then, well, bliss used to take me like smoking dope was blissful. You know, heroin. I mean, I've never done it myself personally.
Yeah, but inevitably you're going to get there, right?
That's going to be blissful.
Following your bliss is a gateway drug to heroin.
Yes.
Right.
Right. But if you were to read whatever is shared and ask and question it and take it in, and, you know, just be with it.
Man, just think it through.
Think it to the extreme.
Apply it. Give it context.
Yes.
You know, feel it out, because that's what you're going to do experientially, you know, to get anywhere. Apply some context. So you don't waste your time with so much of this bullshit.
Yes. And of course, that will help you inform what you share too. You know, when you share something and you really go and apply it to a specific situations to see how does what I've said hold up? Where does it hold up actually? And where does it fail? Yeah.
And then
you want to know these things. And
whenever you discover how something doesn't work, you learn how it does work deeper.
Better, yeah.
You want to make sure you take something, because what's completely true? What's true in all circumstances, in all interactions to all people at all times?
Pretty much nothing.
Let me know, okay, if you've got that, because you know that's the unifying theory of self-development.
Yeah, I think that's actually one of the things that cracks me up when I do posts, right? When I do my posts, I tend to be speaking to someone that I have intention, one of my clients, or to coaches, or to other. I've got an idea of who I'm speaking to in my post, but I don't say that necessarily, because I mean it wouldn't be very interesting to have that in the post too, right? So I just say it. So I'm talking about a context. I have a context in mind. I'm not always sharing that context though, because sometimes it's relevant, sometimes it isn't. And so I share it, and then someone will jump in and go, "Hey, but not this and not that," and I'm like, and jumped in immediately. In fact, I had this just funny enough.
I saw it.
Right, that interaction with my old teacher, right? The guy that that's one of the guys that taught me sort of NLP hypnosis and stuff like 11 years ago,
Yeah,
right?
it shows.
Lovely guy, right? But no, he's a lovely guy though, and
Yeah, you keep saying that.
well, he was a big part of, you know, opening my eyes to life and to a different way. So yeah, and I did, you know, and he began my coaching journey actually in lots of ways before I even knew what coaching was. So I've got a lot of like respect and care for the man, you know. And if you saw the way he responded to my
I did actually.
my direct challenges,
yeah,
you get to
good.
see the man he is, his character.
That's right.
So what happened was I'd written this post and he jumped in and was like trying to, and was going into sharing something that he believed was the way and believed that I'd missed in that. And he went very specific and very like, this is the way. If you only open your eyes, that was his like, energy, right? Of just like, what you've said is okay here, but it's not good enough. And this is what it should be. And everyone should look at this, right? So now I'm like, so for me, of course, what he'd actually said was already contained within what I'd shared. You know, it was already, that was my intention with it, but it was just like a couple of lines, you know, it was just an opening for conversation or an opening is what is the only, it was all it was. So through this interaction of like, I was having this conversation with him, he got, by the end of it, he got to see that what he'd done wrong. He got to see that he had jumped in and assumed without, he didn't take a moment to ask a question. You know? He didn't take a moment to say, you know, how does this relate to this? You know, he didn't do that. He jumped in assuming everything. I mean, it's 2 lines, right? But he had assumed that the context. He had assumed like everything that could lead to was. He had one idea of what that was as well. By the way, he had one idea, whereas actually it was quite open and it contained within it quite a lot of potential that I deliberately kept out of it, right? Because it was just a couple of lines. But he'd missed all that because he just jumped straight in. You know, he'd made that assumption there.
He did what's referred to as straw manning.
Yes.
A straw man is to, you know, to take something someone said and then make it this, and then like argue with that. Something it isn't. But you extract something upon it, maybe you misinterpret it, take it out of context, or you just create a different meaning of it. But anyway, some sense of meaning, and then you argue with this instead of addressing this. And it's the intention of it is implicitly to weaken what somebody's saying. That's why it's called straw manning, right? Okay, so straw man. There's this really cool thing that we can apply ourselves to do, and that's to intentionally still man other people's positions, intentionally still man what people say. It's like, look for the strength that could be in it. For example, if this guy in question looked at how, okay, what if what he's saying is right, and I bring, because what he did is brought his own context to why it was wrong.
Yeah,
could have equally brought his own context to why he saw it as correct.
Yeah.
So it's really, really beneficial, because if we're habitually straw manning, which actually is pathological and it's normal, it's normal. Most of us are doing that most of the time. So if our intention could be to still man, it's like, okay, let's look at what could be true here, and then get curious about that and like do the very simple thing, which is ask the question.
Yeah,
it's like retire the assumptions and then ask the question. But certainly a good way to reorient ourselves is to come into still manning rather than straw manning.
Yeah, and a wonderful thing to do, you know, when people are commenting on your posts, it's like, if they're disagreeing with you, let's steel man their comment. You know, if they're saying it's this, go, okay, because I did that with him actually. And then of course it opened up what that actually, everything that was contained within it, and I was able to have that. Because if you were to look back at that post, it's like, I just felt so good through every single comment that I shared there. It was just, you know, you know, because I'd wanted to take his point in deeply and to the strongest part I could, and then respond from that place. You know?
So I mean, also it gives value to what the other person is saying and saying.
Oh yeah.
So, immediately a better place to have a communication from. You know, I'm not gonna devalue what you said.
Oh no.
I'm actually, if I'm gonna assume anything, I'm gonna assume value. Now it's my job to seek what it is that gives it value for you, and understand that. Now it might still be at some point, you know, I mean, I've had these situations, some few occasions over the last year. Sometimes you get to the point where someone's position, you can just see as wrong. You know, it's like, this is wrong, harmful, immoral even. And then it comes a point, you can just, you decide what you want to do. You know, is it at this stage of my life, or today, or this week, or do I feel like it's something I want to contend with, invest my energy and time in that? or not. And there's no right or wrong. There's just what it is you want to accomplish. Some things are important enough for me to contend with, and other things aren't. Sometimes, there's enough space in my life to contend with those things, and other times there isn't.
Yeah.
And either is okay. So when you're engaging with that message, David, because when I read your messages, it was like these are strong. This is strong here. How you're able to engage in a similar way that I did with my example. What you've been able to do is certainly hold a space to communicate. And the cool thing about that is you've then been of service, because now this person has this clarity they didn't have. So it can seem so tempting to lock horns with somebody in a way that isn't constructive. It can feel so tempting to disregard somebody, I mean, some people really do. If they get any form of negative comments, they will delete them and not engage with them, right? It's like, man, you're missing on such a huge opportunity for yourself, for that individual, and for anyone reading, that can see. I've had so many messages sent my way that have just have praised me, and but not, that's the important part. The important part, that what they have taken from me engaging with things in a certain way, where I'm finding that balance for myself of consideration, connection, but then also fortitude in what it is I'm expressing. If I feel that something here actually has to be stood against, has to be expressed against. And because that's really something to be an ambassador of, to show people how you can be connected and considerate, but then also establish boundaries in a very reasonable way. I think it's a very cool thing to be able to do. When I've done it, it's also risked, because if I've been forthright in certain ways, it's risked people maybe misunderstanding.
Of course.
The casual observer, especially if it's like sensitive subjects, anything that rubs up against PC culture, people can just see and go, oh, you're not meant to talk about that, and then just disengage from you. So it risks alienating people. But what I want to be able to do is be able to connect and serve with those people I can connect with and serve. And that really means being authentic to that degree. I won't shy away from expressing things on social media that people aren't going to like. I won't shy away from that. And it's been nothing but helpful for me, because if I'm going to connect with the right people, that they're going to be the right relationships to work together, or the right relationships just to be in each other's world, then these things are important. Not to the point of I need people to agree with where I'm coming from or what I'm saying, but I need people who are reasonable enough and grown up enough to be willing to allow me a different perspective than theirs. Because I'm going to give that to them. I'm going to let you be you. I'm going to be me. So I have to let you be you. Okay. So I'm going to give you the freedom, give each other the freedom of seeing things differently. Man, almost every conflict just becomes something completely different as soon as you realize that, fundamentally, I have to honor the fact you're a different human being with different perspectives. And at some point, through the exploration of what those are, like the visiting of vantage points and learning from the other, at some point you might just go, oh, okay, we see things completely differently. We have a different kind of moral compass, and that's that, agree to disagree with depth.
Because it's like, by coming from a place of care. I mean, you use the word compassion, but as we discussed recently, I don't like that word.
Care.
Just don't resonate.
It feels more active to
you.
It
is more. It does. It's care. I feel it, and I just direct my care in different ways. And so in this way, it's like I care for the human being that's probably in pain when they're shared in that way. I care for the human being who's disagreeing with me. I just care about them. It's irrelevant as to what they're saying necessarily, but I care first. And so that's just a thing that happens. So because I care, I don't want to just react. I don't want to just ignore even, right? What I want to do is I want to be able to connect some way, and to be able to move in some way forwards, Now, most of the time that can happen, like he did when he was like, thank you. You know, he was like, I see where you're coming from, kind of thing, right? And he was like, yeah, just want to let you know it's all good from my end, you know. And then we had, you know, continued a discussion about something else. But sometimes, of course, that can't happen. Like I remember on one post, it was someone I knew for years, actually. We'd been connected, and we'd got on. We'd even hung out together about 10 years ago, actually. We'd hung out, done a course together. But he was on I shared a post, and someone had commented. And he jumped in and started criticizing this person that commented, like quite like attacking her, as to like how like calling her like vacuous and all these like pejorative words, right? And so as soon as he started doing that, I'm like, so I said, it's okay to say to me things and to disagree with me, but she's not. She's just, you know, it's not okay to do that. She hasn't agreed. I'm the one that's chosen to step in front of the public eye here. It's my post. You know, all she's done is supported the post and shared something that she felt that she wanted to share. It's not okay that you're interacting with her in this way.
Nope.
And then he started attacking her still and about what she'd said. And I'm like, it's just not okay. You know, she hasn't. Just because why do you feel the need to do that? Because it wasn't going anywhere significant, really. It ended up being. I wanted to, because I'd known this guy for years. I wanted it to be able to go somewhere, but it just wasn't. And so in the end, I had to just delete his comments from it, because I hoped she hadn't seen them, because it was just horrible, and it's just an attack that she hadn't, you know, she hadn't stepped forward in a way that meant that she should have that happen. And then, of course, I had to make a decision to just disconnect from them completely. I'm like, I can't, if that's how you treat people, I can't be connected to you. I can't have anyone look on Facebook and particularly on Facebook, right, and go, oh, friends with David, he must be okay, this guy. I can't have that. Because your values and what you think is okay is so far against what I think is okay. I cannot possibly have any connection to you anymore. And so I had to disconnect from everywhere that I was connected to him. It's just a sad thing to do, man. I didn't like doing it.
No, it's no fun. But that's why it's the morally correct thing to do.
Yeah.
It takes some courage. You know, I thought of this good analogy yesterday. Let me come back to this, man, because I want to tell everybody about someone that I told to go fuck themselves on my page.
You've got to tell that.
Remind fuck themselves. I'm going to make a note of that.
Everyone, remember, fuck themselves.
Go fuck them. So, like yesterday, we've got like a veritable forest at the bottom of our garden, right? And there's a lot of birds' nests. A pigeon made a bird's nest we've been keeping an eye on some weeks ago, and the other day we saw the mother kind of like frittering around. So Emily and I, my daughter, 10-year-old daughter, go towards this tree to have a look if the babies have been born yet. What had been happening, which is why this bird was frittering around, is that one of our cats had got up the tree and was attacking the nest. As we're there, standing there, literally 2 newborn baby birds fell from the tree. Thud. One wasn't moving at all, didn't survive the fall or whatever the attack was from the cat. One was alive and moving around. So we, you know, it's very unlikely this little pigeon's gonna survive. Very unlikely. But yeah, it was important to go through the process of trying with my daughter. You know, so we ended up actually doing an hour's trip to the nearest place that could and would take a nestling pigeon, because of course there's limited interest in like a pigeon. But it was a really great process for us to be able to care, and you know, it's all compassion, that, David, right? It's all compassion, and there's all this compassion that we're sharing. Emily's taking such great care, holding the box. She's, you know, I handled the pigeon, you know, gently with a glove, and then I took the glove off to go upstairs and do some things, and Emily's just watching the pigeon, and her job was watch the baby pigeon so the cats didn't get at it, but she put the glove on and she just started stroking, just gave that baby pigeon some contact she felt it needed. And we do this trip, and we come back, and I was thinking about this, like, that's beautiful, you know, what we did. Deep compassion, you know, that's a lot of compassion there, and caring about animals, you know, caring about animals, caring about your pet, you know, and being loving and giving them a good life. All of that's so beautiful. But to be a vet, right?
Yeah.
That's got different dimensions to it. That's not just compassion alone. that's got to have courage and strength, because you're going to have to encounter the pain of these animals, and you're going to have to be able to hold that for yourself and engage with that to be able to do your job. So to be able to take things to a new dimension of care, you must be courageous. You know, there's more to it. Compassion alone is beautiful, but compassion alone doesn't create vets, doesn't create nurses, and doesn't create doctors. That was digression. Anyway, this now coming, I wanted to tell that story so people know I'm a nice guy.
I see. You wanted to set them up.
Yeah, that seems to be what's happened, which is fortunate. So yeah. So someone was engaging on a post of mine. I know what it was. I put up a post, and it was a funny. It was women in loads of different yoga positions, and then this kind of like this phantom dotted line man behind each yoga position with the lines, "What men see when they're watching yoga." Right now, the reason I shared this was a couple of reasons. One, it was a woman that shared it, and I saw a lot of women engaging on it and finding it like entertaining. And these were women kind of like self-helpy women, yoga women kind of thing, right? So okay, so the second thing was it's actually derisory of men. It's like, this is what men see, right? It's actually if you were to play the polar position of a feminist, you would get hypercritical about this generalization stereotype is not okay. I'm tired of men being treated this way. Anyway, so I treated it in this. I shared it in the spirit of self-derisory, self-derision, and I think I shared the words. This is an utterly insulting and accurate depiction, which I thought made it funny. And anyway, it was like a load of people liked it, a load of people commented on it. I think of the however many, there was tons of people liked it. I think 80% of them were women. But this one woman got a bee in a bonnet about it, and just boom, boom, boom. There was nothing reasonable about it. For the fact that all of these people liked it and found it entertaining and everything was just not important to her. It's like, this is insulting to women. It wasn't. That was the thing. It was insulting to men, right? Yeah. And just kept on. And I think I just said, to each their own, simply. To each their own. I began in that place. Then she carried on. So, I went a bit deeper and said, look, this. Anyway, then she come back and then said within her comment, because at the time, David, I got all this to them, nothing. It means nothing to me. To each their own. And I mean that. Even though she's come on my wall to do this and attack me for it. But then one of her comments said, I hope your daughter never sees you sharing anything like this. Now, I am, and I'm perfectly happy to be this, morally outraged.
Yeah.
Because you don't get to mention my daughter in your self-involved, vitriolic ranting. So I said, the only thing that is inappropriate here is you mentioning my daughter while ranting. I actually probably said the words I just said in some way. Please, fuck off and do not message anymore. I said, please. Now, I am totally in alignment with that because I think that is service. It's like, to be able to, what do we want for the people we love? And I include our clients and students in that. What do we want for them? Do we want for them to be able to set the necessary boundaries when they do? Yes. Then we need to embody it.
Yeah.
This person, as I see it, can't just go around the world that entitled. Think they can attack people in that way, and then in that kind of fashion. So then I see it as a kind of responsibility to go tell them to go fuck themselves. Okay, to go very clearly, go fuck off now. And this is why. This is why. And there's a nice line here. And so again, not just compassion, there's some courage here to go. And again, taking the risk of people go, oh God, it just said someone to go fuck
How could Richie?
How could Richie?
How could Richie be?
Do that?
Of all people.
I thought he was all enlightened and shit. Really important, really important to get clear as well on what that is for you and why it is. This must come from a place again of like non-reaction, of holding and space and clarity and integration. It does nothing but serve me. Because I tell you what, this is things. So anybody thinking, oh God, I certainly can't do anything like that. Well, Your version of that, you should do. And this is why. Because do you know what people want for themselves? They want to be able to do that when necessary. So when they see me doing that, and like I said, it's reasonable and there's an evolution. And when they see that, they go, I want to be more like that. How do they become more like that? Well, they have to work with me. So that's the consequence, the natural consequence. Nick says the video keeps coming and going. Oh my God, but this is such good stuff. Not sure if it's just me. I need to hear the fuck off story on Wednesday. I've got a session with Nick on Wednesday. What I'd like to come back to, and I hope people can see, and let us know if anyone can see us. If Noelle is still with us, I'd like to ask actually, because you said this comment, you know, if I get called goddess or boss by one more coach, and most coaches are very generic, but then David talked about how he interacted with you. Would you be able to share a little bit of the difference for you in that interaction? You know, was that something that you recognized in that interaction, the difference between these generic coaches and the care and specificity that David brought? I'd be interested in what your experience was of that. So we have a comment here from Susie too, David.
Yeah, we've just got Ben, my nephew Ben, hey man, and Susie both saying the video's fine, by the way.
Okay,
so
good.
That's cool. Thank you very much.
Your problem, Nick.
Yeah.
You're the one with the problem, mate.
So, Susie, she says, David has taught me the power of discrimination. So working with clients where I can really be of service. I'm right in the process of being of service before being seriously successful. It's building sound foundations. Can be frustrating, but I'd much rather do it this way.
Yeah.
Now, Susie, she's got 25 years experience, right? So she is, you know, in the corporate sector coaching. She built herself to a certain level of success in that way. And it's nowhere near what she's capable of. You know, it's like we've revolutionized the way she works and the way she lives, and we are now stepping into a new realm. Is what we do.
Would you say that she hasn't been doing her best then?
Not even close. No.
Nice.
No.
Good. That's good news, Susie. It means you can do better, right?
Oh yeah, she knows this, and she's doing better continuously. You know, it's wonderful to see just the transformation in her, and of course, it's the integrity throughout life. You see, you know, from her entire life is evolving. You know, through the work. You know, because she cares to do that. You know, to her, it's not enough just to be seen to be something. She wants to be living extraordinary and to be and doing extraordinary work. You know.
Yeah, you're not going to feel what the way people see you in your soul.
No.
You're gonna feel the way you see you in your soul. You know, it's just so much more important. Do you realize this is the predicament we might be in? We might just have this one life and then cease to exist.
Right.
I'm hoping that's not the case.
Yeah,
and I have my suspicions it might not be. However, and even if it isn't, we still got this precious thing happening in this way just once. Now, what the fuck are we doing? What the fuck are we doing with this precious gift, this precious experience? Elevating what people think of us higher than how we feel, than what's real, than what's really going on for our life, how we see us. You know, like, don't do that. Catch yourself wherever you do it and transform your relationship to that. Retrain yourself not to do that. Bring yourself back into that which has the ultimate value, and that's your personal experience of life. And I don't mean that in a solipsistic fashion, you know, in the ultimate value. It's like the ultimate value that you can self-generate, the ultimate value you can experience. There's other values that are ultimate in what you can connect and do for others. But like when it comes to what feedback is important, the ultimate value is the way you experience life, the way you're seeing life. It's like anything else is a fucking waste of life, man. And we know that many people are lost almost entirely in the preoccupation with what other people think of them, how other people see them. We must reprioritize. It's urgent. It couldn't be more urgent or more important. There's nothing like, what is it? What's worth compromising? What's real? What's worth compromising your integrity? What's worth doing that for? You know, it's an open answer because I don't know. But it's certainly not because someone might think of you critically. Someone might judge you. You know, we got to healthily integrate these very normal impulses, these very normal functions, and that's not by getting rid of them. By the way, it's not by going, you know, like get rid of judgment, get rid of comparison, get rid of these things. You can't do that. It's a part of us. You know, it's part of our discernment mechanism.
It's quite useful. Yeah.
Yeah. But it's about making them useful.
Yeah.
It's like, okay. So, am I going to be unraveled in the fear of what other people think of me? So I'm not going to be me and live, or am I going to step forward, speak, and find out, and then learn from it? Because you discover the meaning of what you think by speaking it.
Yep.
You know, you discover the meaning,
and you also discover what you think too.
You really discover what you think once it's out loud, and once then it meets the world and people interact with it, and then they bring context to it, and perhaps you didn't consider, and then you reflect. Oh man, I need to adjust that thought. Man, it's so important.
Yeah.
And then what it is you've got. What have you got to offer others? I might think I've got something, but what it is you've got, you don't know until you're speaking. You know, from the place of, you know, authenticity. This is what's going for me. Who I am, where I am, what I think about it, way I think it works, what's worked for me. And then people interact with that, man, and then you get into that deep learning process, where you discover how someone else can comprehend the thing that you discovered. You know, that's when you become a coach, mentor, teacher. Yeah,
but particularly an advanced one who's able to mentor on top of coaching, because coaching itself, you don't necessarily need to say that stuff, but I recommend you do. You know, if you're going to because pure coaching is not about you sharing what you know, right? So
no, but what I'm talking about is what you embody.
Yes.
You know, what you embody means that with pure coaching, which necessitates deep connection, you know, that unless you embody an authenticity, how do you come to that?
It's true. And also, unless you've gone through this process of being willing to be publicly vilified, really, for being honest and saying things that matter to you, to take that risk, so you can just honestly share publicly in that way. The truth is, when you're in sessions, you're likely to have your own fears hold you back from saying what needs to be said.
Yes, and it's so important to be able to. Like we've said this before, David. It's very important to re-emphasize this. Is that it's very normal that coaches will unconsciously avoid areas that they are either triggersome for them or they feel inequipped to engage with. And then what they're doing is leading their client away from places they need to go. It's very normal. So we need to be able to not do that.
Yeah.
We need to be able to hold ourselves when we're coaching and something comes up like that. And we need to have enough embodied awareness. And that, again, you can't come to that place of embodied awareness over these things and what's really going on for you, so you can really get to grips with the fact, I'm avoiding this here, rather than having an insidious self-justification pattern playing out. You can't get to that place unless you have gone through your own personal patterns of avoidance, gone through this point, like, you know, your version of David dancing in an underground station on his own. Your version of that.
Yeah.
Right?
When I used to be terrified, right? So it's funny because obviously
he filmed it.
Oh yeah,
shared it with the world.
That was the point, right? Because funny enough, it's like Donna's birthday the other day, right? And of course, I sent, you know, wished her happy birthday, and I connected to an image actually when I was dressed as Slash at her birthday 5 years ago, right?
Yeah.
And so I went dressed as Slash, but when I was there, I got very scared of going on the dance floor. You know, she just wasn't able to do it. She wanted. It would have been like a wonderful thing for her to have just been out there and dancing as Slash. She loves rock music, right? That could have been a beautiful experience, but I was too scared to do that. You know, me. Just hilarious. Right. It's fucking funny, man. But of course, I hadn't done the work in this way, right? I hadn't done the dancing publicly, looking stupid enough to purge it from my soul. right? I hadn't done that, or at least continue. I mean, I'm still on that journey actually, but I've purged most of it from my soul, I would say.
Oh, there's always something new emerging, because
Yes.
hopefully you're experiencing some new flavors in life
Oh yeah.
to mean that can emerge. You know, it's like the unreasonable expectation that you're not going to re-experience your weaknesses or triggers in some form as you go. That means you're not experiencing new things, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And of course, bigger challenges, right? Is it you like stepping on a bigger stage? You know, it's essentially is what tends to be, you know, triggering in that way, or doing just something in a very different way. That creates a different kind of trigger actually that you didn't know was there. You know, so it's a continual process, right? You know, and it's a continual evolutionary process. But we have this amazing tool, which is social media, where we've got our own TV show anytime we want. We can go live, right? We have a live TV show. We can do a live broadcast anytime we want.
We're doing it now. Look,
we're doing it right now, right? But anytime you can do this. You've got something you want to say. You get to test it out and to be of service anytime you want. Your own television program, your own radio program, podcast, right? Your own magazine show by just writing posts and articles and sharing them with people. Getting to you want to write a book. Well, guess what? You could write a load of posts and have people interact with them, right? And in which case, the best ones you can put together and it becomes a book. You know, it's amazing. What an amazing resource we have to be able to connect, to be able to test things out, to be able to become more. You know, it's a wonderful, wonderful resource. Don't use it badly.
It's being wasted by not using it as that at all. By just a marketing platform. And then you're creating something to market.
Oh, you make it so small. You know?
It is so small. This is about, like, say, development, showcase the development.
Yeah.
Get real, get really, really real. And this reminds me again of a coach that was in the hamster wheel, because they had reduced themselves through the constant drive to not upset people, to not put people off. So what they did then was become so vanilla that they didn't attract anybody. It's like, don't do that. Don't do that. You have to announce yourself. And the people that want to work with you have got to see you.
Yeah.
And they can't see you unless you're announcing yourself. And then you find through the course of that announcement what it is you're really announcing, what it is you're really embodying, what it is that is your message, what it is that is your service. And then those people that you should be working with. Build it and they will come.
Field of dreams. So this obviously feeds into these sort of stages of development through this sharing, right? Because it depends where you are as to what you need to do.
Yes.
So something very important to start with, if you're not used to sharing courageously, openly, honestly, and risking judgment and criticism, right? If you're not used to doing that, the likelihood is it's going to be hard for you to do that. So if you spend too much time thinking about because also what you're doing is, remember, you're trying to get better at articulating and understanding what you know, having it interact with the world and having people criticize it or ask questions. And it can feel big, right, in that way. So in the early stages, it's very, very important you just share consistently anything that you want to share. Just make sure it has the integrity of coming from your soul, you know, that you're actually something you want to say that is meaningful to you, you know. Of course, you can do meaningful things, which is like sharing yoga posts, right, and joking about that if that's something you find funny or you want to share it, right? It doesn't matter. It's not so important the type of sharing at all. In fact, I recommend that you don't think about the type of sharing too much, you know, whether it's written, whether it's a photo, who gives a fuck? None of that matters. What matters is you are just sharing consistently something that's real for you and that you want to share. That's it. So it's very important you don't get too caught up on saying it right, on getting better at it, or even being good, because you're likely to be crap, is the honest truth. You're likely not
of course,
to.
You should be.
Yes, you just own how crap you are. Because, you know, it's fine. So this is very important. Initially, you just keep sharing. So what you're doing is you're training your nervous system actually to just share and to have people interact with it or not interact with it, right? That's the first layer, really. That's very important. Then, of course, on top of that, you can start through that process. Of course, you're going to begin to get better anyway, just through the process of doing that. But the next layer on top of that really is then really focusing more on articulating your expertise. You know, and again, you're going to be bad at it, but now you've conditioned yourself to be resilient to criticism, to be resilient to holding back from sharing. Now you get to really focus on your expertise in that way, really sharing the things that you know, that you think you know to be true. And whether it's written, a video, it doesn't really matter. It just matters that you do it to start with in that way. And have you got anything else to say about these stages?
Yeah, because it could to really clarify, it can be a seeming contradiction. The idea of you know, being authentic and sharing a message, but then having to find what that message is. So it's like, as David said, get sharing, get making the videos, and just make them the best they can be for now, where they are now.
Yeah.
Okay. And then use them as a tool to improve. So you watch them back. Check it out. Okay. Where did I go off? Where was I on? Then you can learn and grow from each video that you make. But yes, get moving, get making, and just make them the place is as best as I can do now. And then you do that, and then you learn and grow from it. Yeah, that's kind of like, it's like the balance between development and quality. Because you want to, the only way you can increase the quality is through development. So it's like people wait. It's like this wait, or maybe they try and make shit tons of videos before they share anything, and then they lose something. You know, they become sterile in trying to get them perfect. You know, so it's like the quality comes from the development comes through the willingness to step forward and do and find out. You know, we want to get the feedback. It's like, you can get things so wrong for so long, and as soon as you get things right, the clients come.
Oh yes.
You can get things so wrong for so long. It's like, don't think it doesn't work right, because as soon as you're good, it's pretty straightforward. As soon as you're great, it's very straightforward. As soon as you're extraordinary, it's very straightforward. And you must take this developmental journey to get there. Okay.
Yes.
Now, right now, don't wait.
So it's this purging through that layer of fear is your first real, that's the main thing you need to do, because once you can stop being afraid and just focus on creating, well, then you can get to the point of getting good and getting great and getting extraordinary and moving down that road. You know, when you do that, a great example actually is Susie herself. She was doing these videos, and
one take Susie, apparently.
One take Susie now. There you go. Oh yeah, that's fine. I didn't see her comment pop up. Yeah, right. Yeah. So, but this happened because she was doing videos and not many were coming out. So I'm like, what's happening with this? And one of her videos, like, it took like 3 or 4 hours to do 1 2.5 minute video, right? And as she said, wasn't even that good, right? Because of course by the end of it she's pissed off anyway.
Tired.
Like, they're bringing the energy to that.
Your judgment's poor too. It's like, that's.
It's like, look, I've just got to get something. Okay, that's the one. That will have to be the one, in that way. And so, of course, I was like, well, I invited her a better way, and that is to make a rule that you have to do it in one take. That was the rule. I don't know if I said one take. I think that's hers. But whatever it was, you record. If you mess up, you be honest about messing up, and then you just post it, and that's it. And of course, as she did this, is like, oh my God. It's like the whole thing took 10 minutes, right? So actually set it up, record it, post it, 10 minutes, as opposed to hours. And of course, the anticipation, the stress around it, the wasted life as well, right? All those hours wasted for something that wasn't good enough anyway. She could do far better. So I remember, I think the first video she did, she shared whatever she was sharing, but part of that was she was honest that her coach had set her this task, and she shared that, and that now the rule is that she has to just share what's true. And in the moment, and if she messes up, she messes up, and that gets posted. And so she did that, right? It's only like a week or so later, she got a message from someone who was a client many years ago, who said she'd been watching her videos for many months. And after that one, she had the urge to message her, but she didn't have the time. So, and every video she's seen since then, she could see the difference in her, right? It was a very different thing. And now, you know, Susie's like exploring her becoming a client, right? Because of that. So as soon as she dropped in, like all those hours, all those wasted hours, right?
Yep.
As soon as she dropped in to look, I'm going to share the best I can, and I'm going to screw it up, and that's okay. And that's just the way it is. Suddenly it becomes a magnet for people.
You can get into some specifics about how to upgrade your content later. You know, just get able to do it.
Yes.
You know, and I mean, you know, again, the freedom for yourself, the freedom we are inviting you in by doing things this way. It's the freedom David and I have. We can rock up and do a video whenever we want, and it's fun. We can just shoot the shit, and I can say some outlandish things that are going to put all sorts of people
and
off.
Stupid things.
And stupid things. All these things, and it's all just fine. You know, it's a very I look forward to these. I really look forward to them. I really enjoy doing them. It's just freedom. It's loads of freedom doing this.
Yeah.
You know, it's so much better than the agony of perfectionism and the agony of inauthenticity. Because it is, all of it's an agony, all of it. Deceit, every bit of it. You know, it's just, and it's like, does this feel like freedom, man? Right? That's the thing David reflected back to me that I said once. When it comes to responses to things and messages, emails written, does this feel like freedom to me?
Yeah. Because
if it doesn't, I don't want to send this part of me into the world. You know, what if I see it again? You know, won't feel good. And who's going to turn up? Who's going to turn up to this thing that didn't feel like freedom when I wrote it? But when it does feel like freedom, the people that turn up, working with them feels a lot like freedom too.
Yeah, just wanted to say I've got a shit ton of posts on Facebook that Facebook remind me of, and I'm like, oh my god, what was that? I have loads of stuff where I wasn't free, and I was just, you know, sharing stuff, because that's also it, right? Because again, be careful of that. It won't feel like freedom at first, so don't get caught up even that in the beginning. So it's very important. You just share the best you can, as free as you can, in the moment. The sharing, to develop the ability to share, to become a natural part of your expression, that's vital. Really is.
It's not like this kind of like some kind of, you're gonna share something that makes you feel like Buddha. You know, it's like it's sharing something that has freedom, the signature of freedom within it, even if it's uncomfortable, even, you know, because you might be challenging yourself, or being vulnerable, stretching yourself, but the signature of freedom, which is unmistakable, which it will be there in place of that ugly feeling of deception. That's what we want. And that's what people want too. So if they see it, they may feel it. And if they feel it, they will gravitate to the source of it. And that was you.
I remember actually just yesterday, I chatted with a guy who I hadn't spoken to in years actually. He's a football coach, does some amazing stuff like with charity work and around the world. Like, he's done some really beautiful things. And we met through social media on LinkedIn. We were talking about where we met and we'd met. Well, I don't know how he felt. I mean, what I did was I was on LinkedIn, and I wanted to be able to maybe grow a business, right? So I'm like, well, I don't have 39 connections. What do I do? I spent months just increasing that. Anybody really, like athletes and business people, and, you know, just anybody really, I was doing at the time. So I got up to like a decent, like hundreds of connections very quickly. And I was sharing videos and written posts. Then where he came into my world was I was at work. I had a job at the time, and at lunchtime I'd walked around this field. And while I was walking, I had my sunglasses on because it was sunny, and I was walking with the video, and I was just talking. And I can't remember what it was, but what I'd shared. But whatever it was shared in a very different energy than ever before. It was honest. It was only short, but it was honest and it was clear, and it was just like, it felt powerful when I did it. And he responded to that. He responded to the content, and he responded to the way I'd shared it. It hit him. And so he reached out to me. We ended up meeting for coffee, and we ended up, you know, connecting together. I managed to do some help him, and also he brought me in to work with some footballers, that he had, and some football coaches actually specifically. We did we created like a workshop together. You know, we did in the end, and then we've done some other things. But the point was, that video was the first time I'd ever done a video where I was aligned and I was sharing something with power. Because I'd done a whole bunch of videos where I was like, rigid like this, and I was sharing. It looked like I was made of cardboard, and it's just like those were my videos. But by going through the process of keep sharing, keep doing these terrible videos that just looked horrible, which was me sharing other people's stuff to start with, and then then gradually dropping in and becoming my own words and stuff. When it had aligned in that moment, bang, it was a draw for him. And I've had that happen, over the years, many, many times in many different ways, and with my coach clients too, this is happening, continuously. But you can't cheat the system. You can't just rush to that point.
You can't cheat your system.
No, exactly. You can't cheat your own nervous system and your own abilities. Yeah.
And your own relationship to everything.
Yeah.
There's no going around what's inside you. It's an into and through process. Okay?
Yes.
So it reminds me, my first video I made, and I remember I wanted to make a video for quite some time and didn't. And then the day come, and this was the time where I just like, man, I'm doing it now. It was like late, and David, when things get late around here, things get dark. I don't have any bright lights. I live like a vampire.
So you do not do videos in the evenings here.
I don't do videos in the evening. So it's dark, right? And I'm actually in bed. So I'm holding the camera up in a dark room while I'm in bed. I looked like I was in the witness protection program. And I made this video just because someone asked. What happened was someone asked me this question. They sent me this great question in my inbox, and I was in the midst of writing about it. And I was really inspired by it. And I was like, okay, I'm going to do it, and it's now. And I did it. So it's like this darkened face, laying in bed thing. And I sent it out. And it's like my first video, right? It's like 400 views, loads of comments and likes. But importantly, significantly, one person commented and said, this is the best I've ever seen this talked about. The question was relating to whether a relationship is challenging you in a healthy way or a harmful way, and how do you know? That was my first video, and I've never forgotten the fact that how that impacted that person, because they just really took a lot from it. God knows why anyone watched it. This darkened figure,
Maybe that's why. It's like,
that's why, right? It's like,
what's happening in this thing?
You're being mugged. Asking for help via Facebook video. Yeah.
Now, of course, just looking at that one. So, is it likely to have reached more people, to have been more effective if it was better quality, if it was lighter, and all these things? Yes, is the truth. If it had a more attractive image, is it likely to reach more people and do more in the world?
But
yes.
It would never have made it.
But it would never have happened. Exactly. Yeah. And of course, as time goes by, we just improve incrementally, right?
Like when we started doing our lives, right? We started doing them using this software that we use, and they had no background. And it was an important thing is to get doing again. I hadn't done lives for a significant amount of time. You either, actually. And then let's just do them. And it's about serving. And then, okay, now we're doing that. Let's play with this. What can we bring in? Oh, there's this. We make them look better and better, which does help, and it does pull people's attention to them. It does benefit things, but it's a cart before the horse kind of thing. Always substance first, always service first, always connection first. Right? Yeah. Let's do it.
Yeah. I've got to go. Ben's wrote something.
I'm going to take a piss.
Go on. Thanks for the detail. At least it wasn't a shit, right? So when I made a video for the first time, inviting people to try a new service method within hospitality, it took me all day. And the biggest criticism was it was obvious I was reading from a script. I didn't even have a script. That's right. I even gave you that criticism, right? Or that critique, as I would call it, not criticism, because it wasn't critical of you. It was just a critique of how you could improve. That was quite something, actually, Ben. I remember seeing that, because what happened was, so there was this. It's a really cool video, actually. He'd never done one before, but it's a really powerful, like the way he's communicating. He had this great idea to how to help people in business, in cocktail industry, to be able to revolutionize what they're doing. So all the bars are shut, right, during this coronavirus. But how could you deliver a service to their home that feels like you're actually in that environment? How could you do that? He had a fantastic idea, and he wanted to reach as many people. So he come up with this idea. So he'd written it out to start with, sort of memorized it, and then delivered it. But when he'd memorized it so well that when he was staring at it, he was reading it in his mind. And so it very much looked like I thought he'd had it next to the video, and that he was actually reading a script when he would just memorize the thing. I sent it to you, right, to look at. But he just memorized that. And the way he remembered it was by staring and seeing it probably in his mind, right? But however, that was like a powerful video. I mean, my videos took a very long time to get that good. Even with all of that, and it created opportunities from that. It created people wanting to try the service. It created an opportunity for connection. It's just very, very cool. Just to get started and to do something, somebody is likely to pay attention, and you never know what may come. Ben particularly, right? So his history is working in the cocktail industry. He has for like 5 years, pretty much. He's done different things, events, and he's become like cocktail master classes. He's done essentially the job of assistant manager and all these things. That's where he's come from. And now none of that can happen, right? He can't work. What does he do? How can I use everything? What can I come up with that's new and be of service to this industry? So he got this idea, come up with it, and now it's about reaching out to people and creating opportunities, seeing if they are finding out, by the way, if they think the idea is good, finding out if they're willing to work with him. Maybe he could create a business from this thing, right? Was the idea. Very, very cool. And now we had a conversation just the other day, actually. I'm going to support him in becoming a business coach, actually, because he's got such great ideas, great instincts, great sense. And it's like, wow, Ben, you never need to work for anyone ever again, man. Let's build you a successful business. Let's do that. Because he has an amazing ability to create. He's willing to be brave. He's willing to learn new things, and it's like, okay, you have the raw materials. We're going to hone those into something unique. And what I like to do is I help people become specialists, right? That's essentially what I'm doing. If you're a coach, if you're whatever business you're in, you'll become a specialist in that thing. So it's very exciting to me that I get to do that. But it's his bravery, his willingness to do it when he didn't. Who's this guy, right? He's 23 years old, never done this before. And yet he's willing to like phone companies up that he's never spoken to. He's willing to create a new Instagram account and just start sharing about his ideas to see how people respond, learning and growing continuously. It's just awesome. So Benny's in that early stage process of playing with social media, using it as a tool for growth, and using it as a way to create the foundations that will one day lead to an extremely successful business. It's very cool. I'm extremely proud, of course. It's very, very cool.
Yeah, you seem pretty happy about
it. Really? Did my stony face give that away?
Yeah, you're all energized. I've just had a piss now. I could go for another hour, but unfortunately can't because I have other things that need attending to.
What time is it?
It's 2:10.
Oh, I didn't realise.
We did an epic. We did another epic.
And do you know what? There's so much more too, but I guess that will have to do. Yeah.
Who were you talking to?
Who was I talking to? Ben.
Yeah, because you kind of just saying there's so much more to do. You're giving your cock a pep talk.
Well, it's a long day ahead. I have notes.
Okay.
And I bring to these things because I come prepared, and because there were so many different elements that to share here, and obviously because Rich and I both brought different things together, and we sort of build as we're talking. We emphasize certain things and other things just didn't get included. However, I know there's so much significance here for any coach, service entrepreneur, even just any individual really who wants to use social media better, right? This is a way for as an individual to become a better human, right?
Yes,
there's so much we've laid out here.
That's exactly. This this isn't just value for service-based entrepreneurs, coaches. It's everyone. It's cross context value right here. Ben does not want to be confused with your gender.
I think he means book and cock. Don't confuse those two.
Oh, right. Okay. Good. Either or. That's fine. Nick, are the other lives still available? Yes, they are. Now, they're in multiple places, though. So they're either on my professional page, David's personal page. This one is on David's professional page.
Yes.
But what I will be doing, Nick, is when I hold watch parties of the ones, specifically the coaching entrepreneur-based ones, I will be inviting you into those watch parties. If anyone's watching now that wants to be included in when we share watch parties, we can invite people in. If you're connected to our personal profiles, we can do that. So let us know if you'd like that. If you need to catch up, and we can, Nick, I know the ones that will be that'll be good for you to watch. All of them actually are good to watch, but specifically as as Nick is stepping forward, building his coaching business, and I have the great privilege of being chosen to mentor him on that journey. So that's something I'm very excited about.
Beautiful. Oh, actually, just as we wrap up, there's one more thing. So like on here, like many of them, so several of my clients have been this. One of Rich's clients is here. Probably others are watching, maybe not commenting. When you create, obviously at the beginning you may not be able to do this yet, but aim to create something that's so valuable, people who are paying you a lot of money would still learn something new and be able to use. That's the kind of the way to be of service here. That's how good you need to give that much goodness in what you're sharing.
Right on.
Yeah. So thank you for joining us. Oh, go on.
No, I was going to say there's going to be a part 2 of some kind.
Yeah.
Coming, so stay tuned for that. And I think it'd probably be helpful for you guys to understand that we are at the moment doing the more coaching, service-based, business-centered videos from David's social media, and we're doing self-development more generally, and other areas on mine. Okay, so more professional based on David's, more personal over on mine, but of course there is an overlay and a cross-contextual value for each as well. But just to let you guys know. And Susie said that we're hysterical, so that's nice.
Nice you're paying attention, Susie.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you for everyone for joining us.
Yeah,
we've had a great time. We hope it's of value. If it has been, share it out there. Share. Tag people in that will be of service to. You can be of service to others just by sharing this with them, and we'd deeply appreciate and value that too.
Yeah, very much so. Yeah, thank you for joining us. Thank you for commenting. If you're watching this on the replay, by the way, I hope you commented. If you didn't, feel free to. You can always help deepen the conversation by bringing yourself to it.
Yeah, right on. We will be responding to all comments. I say that I have in the last couple of videos because I whacked my back out and I haven't been up to much apart from doing these with David. But we will be doing it. I will be attending to those ones, even the ones I haven't.
They're ongoing conversations, right? And they may not be quick, but it will always be deep and meaningful. So that's the most important.
And that's exactly why I haven't done them yet.
Yeah. So thank you for joining us, and we'll see you again soon. Take care.
Thanks, man.